Please welcome to the stage Izzat Dajani, from CEO of IMCapital Partners. Thank you, sir.
I try to touch that all that time because it's not being...
Before we start, Izzat, I just want to read, I never read this stuff, but I read this. I'm just going to read your bio very quickly. Very quickly, because we've only got 15 minutes. CEO of Dubai-based IMCapital Partners, Executive Vice Chairman of Capital Compass in Turkey, and Chairman of the Advisory Board of SISAA AG in Switzerland. Izzat was CEO of the Investment and Development Office of the Government of Ras Al Khaimah in UAE. Also, Foreign Policy Advisor to the Prime Minister of Kosovo and a long-standing Honorary Consul of the Republic of Seychelles in Jordan. Former Chairman and CEO of Citibank in Qatar, Head of Key Clients at Goldman Sachs, Member of the Board of Directors of Jordan Ali Bank, Member of the Board of Directors Al Tanaf Bank in Turkey. You have an MBA from Harvard and has completed the Executive Management Program at Stanford University Graduate School of Business. So for anyone out there thinking that they're probably done in terms of their personal development, this is the standard we've come to expect. Firstly, where do you find the time? I mean, that's extraordinary.
I think first we should leave now.
Yeah, no, basically. I mean, we have you for 15 minutes, which I imagine would normally be sort of £15,000 to your clients, so we'll get moving on. I think the issue of how countries attract DFI and how countries set themselves up to get foreign investment is absolutely key. And especially, I think, in this region where the markets potentially for that are less mature than they are. But even in Western markets, like Italy, for example, they've really struggled with that issue in terms of how is the country set up so that when an international investor is looking at Greece, say, for example, or Croatia, or one of these markets, they're like, okay, that is a market where we can deploy capital. That is a market where we can invest. In your experience, what do you think defines success and failure from a countrywide point of view, and what is it that has made some countries good at it and most countries not? No?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, there we go. Fantastic.
Okay, good, fantastic. Okay.
There we go.
So today, I think to answer your question, I think best if I wear two hats to answer it. One is the public sector hat, and one is the private sector hat.
Yeah.
Because they both think differently. They think they are aligned, but they're not. Often they're not. I mean, obviously, every country today wants to get into the hospitality and tourism space. It's a fantastic space to be in. Just to give you some numbers, I mean, global hospitality contributes to global GDP over 10%. So 10% of our global GDP today is tourism and hospitality. This is phenomenal because this is like something like $3.4, $3.5 trillion of global hospitality going straight into the global GDP. The growth rate, as we're witnessing lately, is about 15%. And that's actually, again, phenomenal growth. It's not normal growth. It's forecasted that in 2023, global hospitality will be around $4.5 trillion. So everybody wants to grab that, right? If you look at Europe, for example, Europe is around $870 billion, growing to about 1.2 trillion. So again, even within this region, it's phenomenal. Again, the hospitality space is contributing to about 10% of employment. So that's a very important factor. So 10% of global employment is in the hospitality space. Now, where does that take us? To answer your question is, because every country is keen to be in the space, every country almost makes the same mistakes. See, the hospitality sector is very well defined, and its attributes are very, very clear. But what happens actually, most governments create they call them the tourism promotion agencies, they create the investment promotion agency and so on. And frankly, these are, in my opinion, and from my experience, are quite redundant. They don't have the teeth to bite, they don't have the teeth to execute. So it's always a failing approach to going forward. But there are many success stories, and I always kind of relay the message to everybody I deal with in the government and in the private sector that, having good intentions do not necessarily create good policies. You can have all the good intentions in the world, but it does not translate always into action on the ground. It takes thinking, it takes execution power, it takes funding, I mean, it's all integrated. Now, if you want to look at some success stories, and I think that probably people here would like to have country-related experiences, I think it's the best way to do it. I will try to do some within the European areas and some outside. You mentioned Seychelles. I mean, I work closely with the Seychelles for the last 30-odd years. I've been kind of advising them and regularly seeing them. Seychelles is a group of 100 islands, naturally beautiful, stunning beauty, actually. They have all the attributes to success, but they have managed to actually catch up with their neighbors of Mauritius and the Maldives. You know, the tourism in those two other destinations were at a higher pace. So they've tried hard, and they created all these tourism promotion agencies, these investment promotion, nothing worked. Then they thought of a scheme, okay, let's just put all the agencies under one umbrella, call it Seychelles Investment Board, that reports directly to the president's office. So now we have the highest authority in town, or in the country, overseeing it started improving. And then they came up with some fundamental, actually, changes. They took away all the visa requirements, so anybody who wants to come to Seychelles is exempt, no matter what passport they carry, even laissez-passer carriers and so on. So they started attracting kind of more and more tourism. But they needed to bridge the gap between 3-4 star into the 5-star and luxury. And this morning they spoke about the kind of the ultra luxury space. So I would say today they managed to do that by 2 or 3 ways. Yeah? First, by creating the board that has the highest authority in the country to report to. Second, they reached out to some of the Gulf states, and they invested heavily in the industry, which actually created the kind of the uplift. But where they failed, because talk about also failures, that with all this, they didn't manage to make the process of coming into the country any friendlier. So border controls are still stiff and unfriendly. And their F&B and service space don't come up to standard like the Maldives or Mauritius. Right. So countries do initiatives, but it takes more than just the kind of the good intentions to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something. I live in a newly formed tax haven off the northern coast of Europe called Great Britain, who will be looking for investment.
You have a great pound value today.
Yeah, we had a great pound until last week or the week before, not so much anymore. But in your experience, you have the bureaucracy side of stuff, right? So putting in unnecessary layers of management. Because I agree with you. When you look at like in Italy for like IDEEA or any of these kind of stuff, are these organizations actually helping, or is it an additional layer of bureaucracy between the public sector and the private sector? That's a real challenge. Then also, I think you also have markets that are maybe not the most transparent, right, in terms of how they operate. And like when you're looking at a P&L or whatever, are you looking at, are you looking at accurate and that kind of stuff? And then I think you sort of run into the issues of, well, maybe like in Greece, for example, the sun always shines, people are always coming. How much of an issue, is it really? Wearing your other hat with the sort of professional investor hat, what is it that if you look at a country and see, okay, what are the 2 things that I think, okay, we're going to invest here? And on the other side of that, what are like a couple of red flags when you would look at it and go, okay, this is going to be challenging? Because if you're going to get your money in, you need to know that you're going to get your money out at some stage as well, right?
Exactly. See, today, for today, the global investor, I mean, obviously the world is their oyster. So when you have the capital means and you have the investment means, you can choose.
Yep.
Why would you choose Greece over Romania, or why would you choose Romania over Bulgaria, or whatever? So you have the fundamentals within your means to decide.
Yep.
What drives that are many elements. Yeah. One, of course, there are things like country-driven incentives. Many countries do specific incentives to promote investments in the industry.
Short-term incentives?
Could be short-term, could be long-term.
Yep.
I mean, I could give you a live example. I think good to also relate to examples because it makes it more real.
Yep.
I heard this morning about, somebody mentioned Albania. Now, I know Albania extremely well. And it's a country, actually, I do like a lot.
Albania is hot. It's the new Croatia. Yeah.
But if you look at the at the story of Albania, you see, okay, I remember back in 2018, which is not so far back, up to 2018, Albania has a pristine coastline of 430 kilometers, sitting on two seas. It has it has available local resource, so you don't have to kind of worry about labor. It's cost effective, 1 hour from Europe. Sunshine is 8 months a year. So it has all the attributes. So the government came up with investment initiatives to kind of support investments and excite investors. They came up with this formula that, for €1 you can get any piece of land from the government, literally €1, nominal value, for 20-year lease. Then if you invest $50 million, which is not 50 million euros, which is now dollars, you can also get an extension of that. So so for 99, you get 99 years on a pristine land on the seafront for $1 or €1. Over and above, they came up with tax breaks, 5 years tax holiday. All your excise duty is removed from the capital goods. VAT reduced from 18 to 8. So they've done all the right initiatives. But guess what? Not a single branded hotel was in Albania up to 2018. Not one. There was the Hyatt, and they closed down. And up to that year, there was not one hotel that was branded. And I was saying, why? With all these incentives, how come nobody is doing it? Obviously, there were issues beyond that. Yeah? People were worried about the country. Can they deliver? The risk of the shadow kind of organization, and so on.
And also, people need someone to be first, right?
Yeah. See, that I was coming to that.
Yeah.
Your best promoter is your success stories. I always tell everybody I meet, if you want to do something right, get something right and promote it well, because that's your story. Because once you do it right, that becomes your kind of reference point. And people talk, actually. If I want to go, let's say, to Greece, I will call somebody I know who has invested in Greece. I say, how was it? How did you deal with the bureaucracy? Did they fulfill their promises? Did they change their rules and regulations every single day, and so on? So I think that's very important. So incentives would encourage an investor, but I think the track record of the investment with others is probably as important, if not more important.
Yeah. And do you think that when you're looking at countries in this region, if you sort of had to rank them in terms of like ease of investment and ease of capital flows, if you were looking at, say, the slightly more developed ones, so say Greece, Croatia, which of those countries do you think are the best set up for that kind of investment?
Frankly, I'm no expert on the region as such, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I know a lot about the region. I do more work in the Western Balkans than in the in the rest of Southern and Eastern Europe. But the appetite, let's say, I mean, Croatia is a success story compared to others. Montenegro is a success story compared to Albania next door. By far a success story, and sometimes you wonder why. And I tell you, having a proactive, pro-business government works a lot. I mean, Albania, now the pendulum is turning now. And the pendulum is turning because not just because people now all of a sudden said, oh, we like Albania. No, because actually the government came up with promises. So we're going to do an airport in Vlora to connect the south with the north. We're going to do underpasses to connect Saranda with the rest, so to kind of reduce the amount of time. We're going to do all sorts of things, right? They use hydropower, so they're clean energy. Yeah. So they've done all the right initiatives. And they announced them. But guess what helped them? That they have all been delivered. So that made actually people believe in what they're doing. And then the leadership of Albania, which actually is quite actually amazing. More than 70% of the cabinet are females, women. So it's very progressive, very forward-thinking. And the leadership, whether it's the prime minister, who I know very well, or his other ministers, they actually went out and reached out to investors. They actually engaged the global community, not just sitting in their comfortable seats waiting for people. No, they literally went out, engaged, gave promises, and fulfilled those promises. So that's what's happening for Albania. We did something similar in Ras Al Khaimah. I mean, I think the experience would interest the audience here. Because you mentioned also Ras Al Khaimah. I ran the investment office where I was kind of heading the investment cycle of the Emirate. Now, we had the advantage having the backdrop. We were the backdrop of Dubai. Now, Dubai kind of did a fantastic. I think Dubai is the greatest branding exercise on earth. I mean, over 20 years, it just built an amazing, out of a desert to build such a,
it's
such
extraordinary.
a 360 degrees lifestyle. It's unbelievable. So we were at the backdrop of Dubai, but we were not actually capturing much of that. Yeah. So I remember my chairman, who was the kind of ruler, said, we need to do something here. Yeah, yeah. And I told him the same thing. I said, we need success stories. You know, by building one hotel doesn't give you tourism. Building a hotel is real estate. You know, you can build one hotel, two hotels, but if they're not fully integrated in the full lifestyle cycle of development, it doesn't work. Yeah. Anyway, so we needed to kind of create something for the Emirate. And now we went on to a branding exercise, destination branding, which is very complex. It takes lots of time, lots of effort. But the tricky part in destination branding that unless you fulfill what you're claiming globally on the global media, you know, it kind of blow in your face. So we had to do something about it. So we did something very interesting. We created a company called Rack Properties. A $2 billion, let's go in dollars terms, $550 million. But the government puts its money into the company. We actually literally seed funded it.
Yeah.
Then we gave it land valued by external valuations, not by our own valuation, so to create credibility. Now, and then we went out to the market and raised more capital and started the company. Then we want to take it onto a public offering. And public offering actually is a great avenue to advertise yourself. And guess what? Because we committed to the company, because we as government now, we supported it, we gave it land at fair valuations, not just any valuation. And we actually opened up all the channels for it to succeed. We went out to raise, I'll give you numbers, maybe they just sound ridiculous. Went out to raise $300 million. We were oversubscribed by 57 times. So we had subscription of $16 billion. Of course, we couldn't take it. We could only take 300 million. And that gave us actually the success story we needed. I mean, that was all over the media. So you have to create the means and ways to create success stories. But investment agencies, investment and tourism agencies, they're nice, but they don't have the teeth to buy. They cannot deliver.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Listen, we unfortunately run out of time. I could listen to you all day. Are you here for the rest of the day?
I am.
Okay, perfect. So make use of this gentleman later on. Please join me and thank Izzat for his insights. Thank you.
Thank you.